Tell me why you stay low.
Assalamualaikum and good morning. My name is Nick Salman AFIQ bin Nick KAMARUDIN and I am the moderator for today's forum. I would like to welcome all of you, our honorable guests, to this forum. The topic for today's forum is interesting because it is a never-ending topic among football fans, which is the impact of import players to the Malaysia football industry. First of all, let me introduce four panelists that will give their interesting opinion for today's forum. First, we have Muhammad Nasrullah bin Sheikh HUSSIN, a former national player. He is one of the most prolific strikers in Malaysia football industry. Next, we have AMIRUL HAZIQ bin BADRUL HISHAM, former head coach of the Malaysia national team who has been in Malaysia football industry for 20 years. We also have Muhammad ZARIF RAHIMI bin ROSLI, the president of Harimau Malaya fan club, which is the supporters of the national team. Finally, the fourth panelist is AZRUL bin MANSHOR, a well-known football pundit who is an expert that analyses the strategy and the performance of many football matches. Thank you and welcome to today's forum. Before we start, I will explain a little bit about the topic. Import football players have been involved in Malaysia football industry since the early 1980s, but the impact of the import players was not seen until early 2010 when many import players led their football clubs towards success and glory. One of the best import players in Malaysia's Football League, or also known as Malaysia Super League, is Dixon Wakame. He is a Nigerian football player that played for Pahang Football Club. In 2014, he scored the winning goal against Felda United at the 2014 Malaysia Cup. Then, in Malaysia Cup 2014, he scored 2 goals against Johor Darul Takzim to win the Malaysia Cup, which is the most prestigious tournament in Malaysia football industry. Since then, other football clubs started to use import players in their football teams. Nowadays, in 2022, the Football Association of Malaysia allows 5 import players to play for each football club in Malaysia. The import players also have the chance to represent the national team through naturalisation if their performance was acknowledged by the Football Association of Malaysia. So, for today's forum will give us the chance to discuss with our panelists today about the impact of import players in Malaysia football industry. Without further ado, let's hear from our first panelist today, Muhammad Nasrullah. Can you tell us the negative impact of import players in Malaysia football industry?
Thank you to Nick Salman. First of all, I want to answer the question. For our information, foreign imported players have been playing in the Malaysian League since the late 1918. Among the elite import players who colored the local football scene when Kristomoyo Kasim from Selangor and also Malaysia Sayamjai Pahang, their presence to some extent was the competition at the time. Among the important players who have made an impact and are on the lips of local football, fans are like Fendi Ahmad, Alan Davidson, Ervi Boban, and even Alistair Edward. The Malaysian League state has also seen the presence of big names in the world football, like Pablo Aimar, Tony Conti, and AMIRUL among them. For me, in the semi-pro era, the Football Association of Malaysia (FAM) has allowed each team to compete to us a maximum of 3 important players. Nevertheless, the FAM has implemented several changes in local football rules involving the recruitment of important players over the past few years. In 2009, until 2011. For example, FAM did not allow important players to play with team competition in the Malaysian League. At the time, the decline in the performance of the national squad was linked to the presence of important players who were set to close the opportunity for local players to shine. In fact, the presence of these important players can retrace the development of our young players. Let's look at the last 2 years. When we did not use important players, there are many successes for the national team. The young players began to dare to show that their presence is indeed convert in the Malaysian League. Example, Shafiq Rahim, Makyo, Hadi Yahya are among the names that appear on the lips of local fans. This is because the local team will be greedy to buy important players and then bury these young talents. Of course, this team will import players to fill midfield and attack position. As we know, in a football team, this is the position that is the lifeblood of a team. This is what I worry. I think that answer from me.
Next, as a former player, what is your opinion on the impact of import players on the local football players?
Yeah, thank you for the question too, Salman. For my opinion, every year the matter becomes the discussion of many parties, and it culminates when the impact felt by the national team is so significant. Local players feel marginalized. The chance of getting minutes of play are weakening, and the dominance of import players is scoring goal this season is far from leaving local players. It is a problem for local players to get a place in the starting line. The starting lineups as make it difficult to perform well when playing in the national squad. I said that from Zakwan Adha Abdul Razak, Negeri Sembilan captain. So for my opinion, we have to making some solution for this. For me, the solution is for local players to grab the place in the squad. It is not a criticism, but an exploration of the taste of local players who seem to have to work hard to grab a place. Will the management believe more in the magic that important players can do? As a result, they continue to be marginalized, and this time after going through years game and distance left by the import players is very noticeable. In the Superliga competition, the top 8 scores are dominated by import players, while in the Premier League competition, 5 import lead to goal collection this season. True, it is a big challenge to be overcome by local players. However, the mentality possessed by some management put many local players in different castes. Local and imported players don't have too much difference for me. Just an advantage from a physical maybe point of view. The skill of each player are almost the same. That is from midfielder S. Kumaran from Melaka United. In induction, the presence of important players in local football language is getting hotly debated on social media platforms. For me, the criticism stemmed from the national team defeat at the AFF 2002 Suzuki Cup in Singapore recently. The Malaysian Tigers, coached by Tan Che Ho, showed their worst performance after being beaten by Vietnam 0-3 and Indonesia 1-4 in the group stage. The most notable weakness is in the offensive position other than central and defense. In September 2021, the Malaysian Football League MFL informed that they will consider postpone related to import quotas in Malaysian League. Their role is to allow each team represent 5 important players in the Super League competition. Most of the import players are also on average 18 in offense defense position. In fact, the presence of such important players can have the positive impact on local league and players. It will create healthy competition in grabbing the top position. Thus, playing in every match, local players can also learn from important players about the technicals and skill they possess. This is because most of the import players have different background from me and come from different countries. All continents, local players should take this opportunity. However, if the quotient or important player is too many, it will close the opportunity for local players to play more often. Currently, the attacking position is very critical and Malaysia has not had a quality striker like Safi Salih for a long time. I think that's all from me.
Next, we move on to the second panelist, AMIRUL HAZIQ. As a former head coach of the national team, what is the major impact of the import player to the Malaysia's Football League and the impact on the quality of the football as a sport in Malaysia?
The impact on Malaysia Football League is improving the quality of Malaysian sports. This is because local players can receive constant guidance from import players. Local players can be exposed to world-class technique in order for players can sit equally low and stand equally high with world-class players. In addition, local players can also get a world-class partner and learn some new skills from import players and make local players more competitive to play so they can take import player position. With this exposure and intensive training, the player will definitely be able to compete at the international level. The recruitment of import players can spark the support of sport fans to the team of their choice. It is clear that with the recruitment of import players can improve the quality of sport in our country in the eye of the world. Other than that, import player recruitment can expanding the name of the Malaysian League to the international level. This is because import player recruitment can attract the import player fans to watch their player play. That's how They want to find out about Malaysian League and they will watch Malaysian League every day. The import player fan can also share Malaysian League to their friend and make him watch Malaysian League too. So after a while, it can be a famous league because the import player fan. The more import players are taken, the bigger the Malaysian league expands because the import player may be taken a player from well-known team or from well-known league. It is because if the player from well-known team, so the player will attract more fans because everyone will know that the player will go to Malaysian League if he go there. It is because the player from well-known team if the player from well-known team will spread the news rapidly then a player from infamous team, because if the player from infamous team, then the news will spread only on his country. If the player from well-known teams, the news will spread all over the country, all over the world.
Let's continue with our third panelist, Muhammad ZARIF Rahimi. What is the effect of import players to Malaysia football fans and young football players in Malaysia?
Okay, I as a football fans club, I think foreign player on nation team be able to give exposure to the young players in the team to move forward, as they have to compete with the import players to get a chance to be in the starting lineup of the squad. We often associate our national football with international football. Supposedly, international football developed because of using the service of import player. This assumption is the worst and most stupid assumption. Foreign football is developed because of many factors such as exposure, experience, physical factors, and so on. The requirement of import players is only to enliven their league. The Football Association of Malaysia (FAM) said, however, we need to give strong reason to the country football fans who may be skeptical of the use of the imported players. FAM decision to allow for import players to be filled in Malaysia League matches got a different reaction from Malaysia League fans. Admittedly, since the import energy returned to colour local football in 2012, the quality of the league is seen to be increasing because it is able to attract more fans to the stadium. This adds quality in terms of better game quality. From the start of two, now the quota of import player on the field has been expanded to 4 people. The question is, why is FAM not sensitive about such issue? If we want to compare the physicality of our players who are smaller, see how many import players rely on physical advantage over skill. In fact, tend to employ import players from Latin America with physical advantage over their skilled products. Undoubtedly, as professional players, our players have to compete, but at the same time have to balance it out to local talent because the goal is to improve quality. In addition, the excessive number of import players will affect the playing minute of local player, especially for the striker position. Is it a must that imported striker will be the option to line up in the team starting lineup to score goals? If we look at the list of Super League score for the 2021 season, only one local player, which is BADRUL, who is also midfielder, is listed among the top 10 score. Perhaps this is one of the reasons local strikers struggle to score goals during action against quality opponents such as Vietnam and Indonesia at the recent 2000 Suzuki Cup, when FAM banned the recruitment of import players for the 2009 until 2011 season. The Malaysian Tigers squad for the first time won the 2010 edition of the Suzuki Cup, with Safis Ali emerging as the winner of the Golden Shoe Award. As started by FAM President Tunku Ismail during the last season with the fans, the main purpose of increasing the ASEAN import quota is to find additional funds for all the competing teams. As we all know, one of the problems faced by the management of the team in our country is with regard to funds. This can be realized when the Asian import players get coverage from their country. It can indirectly attract sponsors from regional countries to sponsor teams in the Malaysian League. I think I give the more explanation about this, so I think that's all only for me. Thank you.
Finally, for the last panelist, the question that I will ask to AZRUL bin MANSHOR, who is a football pundit, to sign a contract with an import player must involve the financial agreement between the club and the import players. The question is, what is the impact of the financial agreement on the club itself?
Okay, thank you AMIRUL Hafiz. Thank you AMIRUL Hafiz for stating the info. Very much appreciate. Now I'm going to talk about some negative impact of import player. Well, import player their salary is a bit high. Based on New Straits Times, Nosharul Idlan Tahala, one of the best striker in Malaysia, his salary is about 80k, but import player have more than that, 2 times more than that. Let's take an example from JDT squad. Mr. Julian, his salary is about $250,000 per month. Yep, he's from Argentina. Now let's take a second example from Pahang squad. Mr. Dixon from Nigeria. His salary is 160,000 per month. It's nothing to compare to local player. Local player like from Terengganu, Mr. Nosharul Adlan Tahala. He's the most highest salary to a local player. His salary is 80k, and from Johor Darul Takzim, Mr. Shafiq Rahim, his salary is 70,000 per month, but our player got but import player got some experience, got a lot of experience. That is the positive impact of it. Now,
Finally, we have come to the end of the forum. I would like to thank the panelists for the active participation and interesting talk about today's topic. And thank you to the audience. Hopefully, everyone that involved in Malaysia football industry can work together to find the best solution regarding the issue of import players to create the best for the Malaysia football industry. That's all from us. Assalamualaikum and thank you.